I love Minecraft, but lately I felt like there's something missing. You see, I love to explore, but unless I'm finding the newest biome, which happens like once a year now, I basically never leave my base anymore, and that isn't fun. Last year, I created a mod pack called Kota that was supposed to cure my boredom with vanilla Minecraft. It didn't really work, so this time around, I'm completely overhauling my mod pack, turning it into a cozy, adventure-filled RPG experience that we all can enjoy. And just like last time, this mod pack will be available down below in the pinned comment. Welcome to Kota 2.0, Cozy Recrafted. After spawning in and gathering the basic necessities from this village, I began my exploration journey. Starting out in a cave, I gathered the usual: stone, coal, and some bits of iron. Like every other world I play, we're on hard difficulty, so it's best not to test my luck with the mobs just yet. Leaving the cave, I began exploring north, working my way through forested highlands and down into a mystic grove. One of the biggest terrain differences between my original mod pack and this one is the swap from Wilder Wilds to Biomes of Plenty. Biomes of Plenty adds a lot of cool, unique biomes, structures, and blocks that look really polished and super clean. Most importantly, it adds an incredible modded feel to the game without compromising the Minecraft formula. A little further along and it was time to sleep. I reached the coastline and decided to set sail. My goal for today was to collect and explore as much as I could, or as much as my inventory would let me. This mod pack adds a lot of structures, so I'm gonna try and not be sidetracked by too many things, except these. These ducks are cute. Over the hill from the ducklings, I reached my first abandoned camp. These are a simple standalone structure mod created by ArulJZ, the same developers who created When Dungeons Arise. There's going to be so much to explore, and after just a little while, my inventory was already full. Hey Quark. After offloading all my junk back at the spawn village, I set sail in the opposite direction. And it wasn't long until I discovered my first real dungeon. When I set out to make this mod pack, I wanted to be surprised by some of its contents, meaning I didn't look too deep into the mods I was adding. If something looked cool, I added it. Underground Bunkers was a mod that looked really cool. I just failed to realize where it fell on the hierarchy of difficulty. Here's the problem. One of the more RPG mods adds random tiers to all the tools and weapons you craft. So a regular iron pickaxe isn't just regular anymore. There's a chance it can have a 20% increased mining speed, a block further reach, but an even higher chance of being worse. In this instance, I failed to realize how bad my common or uncommon tool rarity was hurting me here. Even with the shields, one of the common negative modifiers is to lose health points. And in this dungeon, I couldn't survive a single hit from the enemies as is, but I got the hang of it. As I crawled through this dungeon, I slowly gathered better gear, more resources, and lots of cool items. It was still a huge struggle, and even after I geared myself up, I was still at the mercy of Lady Luck. I did not expect to come out of here with all this gear, but that's modded for you, I guess. Plotting a course home, I discovered that Zero's world map lets you teleport. In all my time using this mod, I never knew that was a feature. So I crafted some backpacks from the Traveler's Backpack mod, one of my favorites by the way, and departed from the spawn village yet again. This time using the newly discovered teleportation features. Since I skipped the need to gear up, I decided it was time to get back to my goal, collecting any and everything that I can manage. In particular, as many saplings as I could. Exploring the lush desert, I came across another smaller dungeon structure, the Jungle Treehouse. Remembering how difficult it was in my playthrough over a year ago, I made sure I was prepared. And well... that was a lot easier than I remember. I found a puppy that looks just like my dog at home, and decided to bring him along for the adventure. Soon after deciding he would be safer with some armor. So I'm leaving him for now, but I'll be back soon. I found myself doing lots of odd things like exploring this abandoned mineshaft, caving a little bit, playing hide and seek, fighting illusioners and pillager pirates, all until I discovered I think I want a base here, but not yet. There's a little more that needs to be done. I had a close run-in with an illager windmill, climbed an ice spike and donned my crown, and I conquered a witch villa. All in the search of the last few saplings. This entire time, I've been on the hunt for redwood trees. Not these ones from the Biomes of Plenty mod, but these, the elusive clutter redwoods. No disrespect against the Biomes of Plenty redwoods, I just don't love the vibrancy of the red as much as I like the softer, more earthy tones of the clutter trees. But I've been all over this world, and I have not found a single giant redwood forest. I have another mod installed called Nature's Compass that lets you search the database of all modded and vanilla terrains. My goal was to discover every sapling on my own, and that would allow me to unlock this powerful mod. Only, I had given up. As I sat atop this Yellowstone mountain range, ready to use it, I noticed something in the distance. After all that time, thousands and thousands of blocks traveled, I had finally found every sapling. A few of the biomes along our journey were really cool, like this colorful rainbow birch forest, the Origin Valley Fields, which I think is really clever and I cannot wait to build something here, as well as a few other things we'll get to in future episodes. But that is gonna conclude our adventuring today. Homestead has a very nice feel to it. I absolutely love that name. And I feel like it's very fitting because we're definitely going to be exploring and adventuring a lot away from home. So having some place to come back to called Homestead just kind of feels right, you know? But with that said, we actually kind of need a home. And right now I feel like this little chunk of land right here on like the edge of this main area would be perfect for a little house. Because eventually I'd like to create a sprawling, busy, bustling town over on that side, and maybe even like a castle keep or something like that up on top there. Larger planes aside, today we have a much smaller build. But we can't really do that if all of this terrain is in the way. So I think we're going to go through, we're going to take out some of the trees, and then we're going to level it out just a little bit. You know, it's things like these that make me really miss having enchantments on my tools, even with this being a legendary diamond shovel with 30% more durability, 5% more speed, and 2 extra block range. It's just not quite as good as having enchants, and that's something we're gonna have to suck up for a while. I was able to add a bit of enchantment to my gear, but that was from books that I discovered in our dungeons that we conquered today. Because see, the rule that I want to set for enchants is I am not allowed to have them until I complete phase 1 of this world. Sorry, I meant phase 2. Phase 2. So for a long while still, we are not going to have any access to any enchanting. Now, if we're conquering a dungeon and we find a Protection 4 Unbreaking 3 mending book, of course I'm going to use it, but I'm not allowed to use an enchanting table. That's kind of the rule. And the reason being is I feel like enchanting is just easy mode. Like, it adds such a small barrier to entry to being overpowered that it just doesn't feel like you earn anything, right? So my idea is, you know, if we go through dungeons and we discover enchanted gear or stuff that'll help us level up, it'll feel a lot more earned and a lot less like we're just scamming villagers out of all their books. So unlike most playthroughs nowadays, we're not going to have fully enchanted gear episode 1. It's going to be like episode 10 before we're even allowed to use the enchanter. I really don't know. I'm just kind of guessing. One of the things that will help us a little bit earlier on is pickaxe trims. So instead of being able to enchant a pickaxe, we can do a neat little thing with an armor trim, technically a tool trim in this case, where you can apply certain materials that'll give you certain effects. And I made that pickaxe before I decided that this was going to be a rule. That one has emerald as the trim, and that means that blocks have a chance of dropping double whatever item. So if I was to mine a diamond, there's a chance that I could get 2 diamonds without even having fortune unlocked. So that's a little subversion around the enchantment issue, and I think it'll be fun to try and work around. Let's see what we get. Ugh, uncommon. Okay. So back to the goal conversation. What exactly are we trying to achieve here? Well, this is technically phase 1. Or chapter 1 or book 1. Not really sure what I'm going to call it yet. But we have a couple of different things I want to achieve in this book before we move on to discovering other things in the mod pack. So just a little bit of a spoiler warning, but basically there is just 1 or 2 things that I want to try and achieve before we move on and get a little too far ahead of ourselves. And in this phase, that is going to be conquering the overworld, which we have basically done today by collecting all of these different types of foliage blocks, and that unlocked us the nature's compass. Not technically because we didn't end up using it, but it's still there in case we want to ever use it in the future for whatever reason that might be. Like if we're in the nether, we can use it. If we're in the end, we can use it. Doesn't really matter. It's unlocked and it's ours. But since we conquered the overworld or the up top world, next episode, we are going to try our best to conquer the caves or the depths of the world. And in that, we're going to be discovering a lot of underground biomes, different underground structures, and just doing our best to kind of collect a ton of resources and progress our character just a little bit more. We already have a ton of stuff from doing dungeons today, but I kind of need diamonds, and with this tool system, it's going to be hard to actually craft items that are going to be useful, so we're going to need a lot of spare resources just in case we end up running through a ton of tools. And then after we go about conquering all of the cave dimensions or whatever we end up getting up to in the next episode or 2, we are going to go and find ourselves a trial chamber. I have a mod installed called Lucky's Trial Chambers, I'm pretty sure, and it basically just revamps all the trial chambers. And I know they're fairly new, they're like one of the newest updates, but it still completely revamps them, overhauls them, and makes them a little bit more difficult. The idea is that we're going to try and gear ourselves up to as strong as possible to go and take on a trial chamber or 2 or 3 or whatever we end up doing. But if we're able to conquer the trials and tribulations of modded Minecraft, then that will bring us the end of phase 1, meaning we get the pickaxe trims. We technically already unlocked the nature's compass, and then we'll get to do things like play around with spawners and this thing called an echo chest. But more about that stuff in the next episode. That's enough yapping for me. I just kind of wanted to go over the ideas. I know I mentioned the general rules and progression earlier in today's episode, but I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page and you understood what I was talking about and how we're going to go about doing something like that. And if y'all have any suggestions, if you take a look at the mod pack and you're like, hey, that's overpowered and you should definitely be holding that off until you do such and such, let me know. I'd love to get some feedback, see what you guys think of this idea, and just kind of build off of it. It'll be an organic process, because I feel like the issue I had with the original mod pack was I just felt way too overpowered way too soon. And I think that kind of killed the progression for me. So we're going to try and nerf ourselves a little bit so that we can enjoy just a little bit longer. Also, I'm pretty sure I didn't mention this guy anywhere. I don't remember how I got this guy. I think he was around here somewhere in one of these forests, but I genuinely don't remember how he got here. We still have the other dog over here, which is just a ways away from where we are right now, that we eventually have to get back home. But we do have a dog, just not the one that we found earlier. Okay, so I went ahead and leveled this terrain a bit, and I think what I want to do is push back just a bit into the redwood forest. And so we're going to take these trees out, and we're going to start shaping this kind of back wall that follows around here. Oh, and there's not going to be any time lapses in today's episode because for whatever reason, both replay mod and flashback refuse to work. They record just fine, but when I try loading them, they give me error codes and crash my game. So if any of you beautiful people out there know what the issue is or how to fix it, please let me know. I'm all ears. Also, I've been holding this torch in my offhand like an absolute dork. Give me this and this menu. Look at that. Look at that. It's a swinging lantern on my belt, so I don't have to carry a stupid torch in my offhand. I can carry bread instead. Look at that. And it moves. It moves. That's so cool. Okay, distractions aside. Are you serious? Ooh. No. Distractions aside. Go away. I have a house that needs building. Distractions aside, we're going to build a house. Actually, no, we're going to do terraining. This is all over the place. Goodness gracious, that took so long. This is gonna take forever. Okay, that's the last big one. Now for the tiny ones. Okay, there we go. All right, now can we picture it? A little cozy cottagecore house sitting right there. Nice little pathway, fields, maybe a bridge over there eventually. Obviously some docks to pay homage to the first time we tried playing modded Minecraft. And yeah, I think this will do very well. Very, very nicely. We even have like a nice little start to a lake. So that's perfect. With the terrain cleared, I wanted to start outlining our starter house, but of course, the game decided to throw another distraction at me. So after dealing with the intruders, I got to work on my outline. I'm not really a cottagecore buildy person, so I went to Google to look at some reference images, and I have to say, not what I was expecting. For some reason, I had this preconceived notion that cottagecore was different than that. Like, I'm not sure what I expected, but the images that popped up were all basically medieval fantasy with a little green thumb sprinkled in. So there's a good chance this build won't end up fitting into the cottagecore aesthetic, but I'll be damned if we can't pull off something at least a little cozy. With the outline done, I decided it was time to fill in the rest of this land. I left it because I wasn't sure what the plan was, but now that I had a solid start, I could go back and safely patch it up. After that, I set some outlines for some paths that I wanted to include around the house, as well as some markings for some future builds. One of my rules in this series is no Lightmatica, which is going to be a little challenging considering the sheer number of new blocks and materials there is to work with. It's not to say creative mode is completely off the table, I'm just using it to experiment, in most cases. This time I decided I wanted to get a look at all the wood types firsthand in a survival setting, gathering what I could of the leaves and such, and trying to decide which ones I wanted to use in the build. Oh, and Dum Dum spawned again. I kid you not, it's been like an hour since the last guy. Okay, that is every bit of tree that we just farmed up, put in this barrel and this barrel here. We have all the leaves and the saplings up here, and we've got plenty of logs to experiment with. There's definitely some that I'm not going to use just yet, like these blue ones. But the rest of them, I'm excited to try and see if we can fit into our house somewhere. Now, this is supposed to be a cottagecore house, so parts like this section here are going to be more naturey than they are building-like. So we're mostly just going to be experimenting, I think, in like this top section and maybe that section back there. I think this middle one right here is going to be more of like a foundation, stony type build. Like you see on the old medieval Tudor ones, they have like a stone foundation and then some wood up top. I think that's kind of the vibe that we're going to go with on this part. So we just need to experiment basically with that back section and the top section there. And there's no better time like the present. So now we can get a really good comparison between the different redwoods. So this is the Biomes of Plenty redwood, and then this is the Clutter redwood. And you can see why I wanted to go for this one over this one. This is just extremely vibrant, and I don't think it's going to fit anywhere just yet. For more of like an earthy tone, I really prefer this wood because I think it looks so much better. The planks as well have like a nice little orangey hue to them. I also really like that. In case it wasn't obvious, this is the wood type I'm going to try experimenting with first. Okay, I think I like this a lot more than I was expecting. The stripped version of the log maintains like the bark structure. If you look at like other stripped variants, they are a lot smoother than the actual bark variants. And this one is not the case. And I think that will fit this like cabin in the woods aesthetic a lot more. Yeah, I think that's the right choice. All right, I want to start on the foundation next. The only problem I have is cobblestone is like the only foundation block that I own currently. I have a very small amount of deep slate and an even smaller amount of tough. So this is going to be a challenge, but I think I can overcome this with one of my mods. This one, actually. I want that one. And let's see what we can do with just regular cobblestone. So unfortunately, it looks like these are mostly just industrial blocks. We are able to access mossy cobblestone fairly easily, but the rest of it is just a little too industrial looking. So I guess I'll take that. Maybe I'll try the other one. What can you give me? Okay, a little bit better. Still not terrific, but I think it's something that we can work with. Okay, I think I like this one, and that one the most. This one is a little too much. Don't think it really fits the aesthetic that we're trying to go for. So we're just gonna turn it back into regular cobblestone. Ooh, actually, you know what I could do? What am I doing? I don't have to run away. I've got a crafting table right here. That's not what I was thinking of. This is what I was thinking of. Here we go. Look at that. Yes. I do wonder if it's a little too subtle, though. I think we'll come back to it. Okay, it's a little washed at the moment, I admit, but we are just missing the little bits of details. Like there's going to be some wood outlining up there because this is going to be a terrace balcony. It's going to be a balcony. And we're going to have other little details. We're going to add some moss, some vines, some greenery, all that kind of stuff. Windows, obviously, outside bits. So it's okay that it looks a little bit plain because we're going to go ham with all of the details. And we're also limited at this moment to the amount of resources that we have. So I can't really complain too much, and I just have to suck it up. Just saying that to convince myself, really. It'll look good. It'll look good. With the foundation now in place, I turned my attention to the back section of the build. I decided to try out maple first, since I've had my eye on it since the beginning of this playthrough. The back section is going to look a lot worse right now, since I'm saving space for all the detailing. With this being modded, I don't have to worry so much about the texture of the walls, since there's plenty of things we can cover them with. After the back was filled in, I moved to the roof. For this lower section of the cabin cottage concoction thing, I wanted to keep the roof line short and give it the slightest angle. That way it wouldn't stick up too much in the silhouette of the build. I also went and changed this portion of the back wall. The straight line was just killing me to look at. After that was sorted, I finished off the tallest portion of the house, keeping a higher slant than the last section, but still not too high. The last section of the build was the mossy green thumb part. I needed a good excuse to remove all the nasty podzol around the build, so I spent some time converting the majority of the land into moss and then collecting it to be placed in this final section. I wanted to keep this shape very natural and earthy, so I spent a lot more time on the subtle shape. I feel like these natural curves really help balance out more of the rigid roof lines for the rest of the cabin. A few more details and quite a bit of time later, we have finally finished or at least polished the exterior of this build. We went through, changed the roof, added some windows, finished off the balcony, finished the chimney, and added lots of greenery bits. Now, it's not to say that this build is completely finished, because I have a little secret. The interior is far from finished, and that's okay. You see, I've done this dance once before in the last modded series, and I know how much time I can spend just looking through blocks and deciding what I want to use and where I want to use it. So I'm not really looking to play that dance this time around. This episode's already running a bit long, and I just kind of want to get it out to you guys, and I don't want to stress too much about getting everything completed today, because we have plenty of episodes to get this done in the future. And it's not like the last time, I promise that. I swear we're going to have more episodes. But generally, we have our outlines for where we want things to go. We're going to have a lot of nature storage over here, some workstations over here, some deeper bulk storage for like our stony, earthy bits, and then our wood stuff on this side. We have a kitchen so we can explore Farmer's Delight and store all of our food stuff over here. And then we have just kind of random storage. Also, we have an upstairs, which is going to be like our bedroom area. And I really love this room. I love natural light. And so all of these windows just kind of speak to me on a personal, deep level. But again, we're not going to be finishing this today, but we are going to be working on it soon. I do, however, want to finish this area so we can get the build thumbnail ready, as it were. I am still a YouTuber after all. Oh, and in case you're wondering, we did not do anything on the back. YouTubing very hard today. I started out by removing the placeholder paths and then came through with a shovel and created a one wide loose outline. After I got the flow of the paths in a good spot, I started to widen them and add a few texture blocks along the edges. Then I came through with some of the leaves we collected when we harvested all those trees and created some borders for our paths. Next came some lighting and a few bits of final touch details. I left some of these larger sections open because I want to plant some fields. I'm nearly out of bread, so a wheat field is going to come in clutch here. And these flowers were really pretty, so I planted them near our house. I finished up with some of the other empty sections and felt like it was in a good place to leave for now. And there we have it. Not quite finished, but in a pretty decent spot. I would say this has been a very cozy start to this series. Now, of course, if there are any ideas for like mods or rules or achievements, anything like that, be sure to let me know. We are playing in 1.21.1, so unfortunately we don't have access to anything like the create mod or anything along those lines. But if you have any other suggestions that will fit in this mod pack, don't be shy. Let me know. But with that said, I think we have reached a fairly satisfying conclusion to episode 1 for this series. I'm really excited for episode 2. I'm excited for everything that we're going to do in this series, in this world, and basically everything we didn't do last time. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, people of all ages, I really appreciate you sticking around to this point in the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.